Hello, 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 everybody. We should be live. This is Jordan Sorcery, and I'm here with Jonathan Green, author of The Darkness Over Arkham. And we're just going to do a little bit of a soft start. Just make sure our technical stuff is correct. We're not going to start the adventure just yet, because we want to make sure that everybody can dial in and join us at 7 o'clock. So we just wanted to come live, start talking, and make sure that everything is as expected. How are you doing tonight, Jonathan? You okay?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Good.
And you?
I'm great, yeah. I'm looking forward to this. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm hoping we've got a couple of folks in the chat who are already here, and they can tell us if they can hear everything and they can see everything and that it all looks and sounds correct, because it looks right from my end. So I'm optimistic we're all right.
Cool.
But yeah, we'll give people a chance to tell us in the chat if they can hear me and if they can hear you. Great. So I think we've got everything coming through. I'm just going to make sure that the audio levels are just right. It sounds like maybe there's a little bit of a volume difference between you and I, Jonathan. But hopefully I can even that
I'll
out.
speak up.
No, I think it's the other way around. I think I need to be speaking up. But people can let us know. Keep us informed that everything sounds all right as we
I'll speak in hushed tones so that we don't summon any dark entities from beyond.
Well, if that's going to be a danger, yeah, I guess I should have prepared myself for this one, because we are going to Arkham. We've got an Arkham Horror, the first Investigators game book, so we're going to be jumping in with that. If anybody just saw something go across my screen, it wasn't a tentacle, it wasn't a Cthulhu monster, it's just Martha, my cat, and she probably will get involved again as we progress through this scenario, because she's very eager to take part as well. And I think your pet might get involved as well, Jonathan. Is that right?
It's possible, yes. If you hear any barking, it's not the hounds of Tinderlos, it's Conker. The family dog. As soon as I shut my office door, he always wants to know what's going on. He thinks he's got FOMO, so I might come and have a look.
We'll have to get him he should dial into YouTube. He should get the stream live so he can see what's happening, and then he'll know. He won't have FOMO then, because he'll be part of it. But yes, we're warming up. We're just making sure that we're all here, we're all ready, and that we're all live, so that when we do start in just a minute or two, and we really get into the Darkness Over Arkham, everyone can hear everything, and everyone can really be part of the fear and can really experience it for real. Because that's what we're going to be doing, right? We're going to be going through the first, or a portion of the first Investigators game book, right?
Don't be fooled by my inane grin. It's going to be terrifying, and soul-shredding nightmares will rack your dreams this evening. So. This is the book, in case anybody's not sure. I can see it behind you as well, actually.
Yes, I've got a copy right here.
It came out yesterday in the States in paperback. It will be out in paperback in the UK 18th of July, but you can get it anywhere as a global ebook. And there you go. There's the hound howling, baying at the moon.
That's just sound effects that we've laid on to build the atmosphere.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's probably warning the neighbours.
I'm also going to be smiling my way through it, but I'm expecting that's just going to be a fear reaction, and I'm going to be.
It's the rictus of fear. That's
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm just going to be covering up for being afraid by trying to laugh and chuckle my way through. Well, we are live right now for this interactive launch of the first Arkham Horror Investigators game book, The Darkness Over Arkham. I, Jordan Sorcery, I'm going to be your host this evening, and I'm joined by Jonathan Green, the author of the novel. Hello, Jonathan.
Hello.
And you're going to be reading the portions of the book. We're going to be going through the sections of the book that we can fit in over the next hour or so, right? Yeah.
Just to give people a taste of what they're letting themselves in for when they purchase this eldritch tome.
Yeah, because it is, and as you said, it's available right now. I think there's links for the ebook down below, and you can find that wherever good ebooks are sold, right? And the pre-orders are now live for the physical version of the book.
The easiest thing is probably to go to aconitebooks.com. And then if you search for the book on there, they have bookshop links. So you can buy it from whichever store suits you best in whichever territory.
Perfect. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And this is an exciting one, this. So for many, many reasons. One of the things that I really like about... So I've not read it, so I'm excited to sort of find out how this...
You've resisted the temptation.
Yeah, I did. I've been very good because I wanted to experience it with everybody else. But yeah, we're going to get to choose our character as well, aren't we? That's one of the things we get to do in this book.
That's right. So what's different about the Investigator game books is that they come with preset characters who are actually from the Arkham Horror game. So if you've played the game before, you may have played with these characters or encountered them before. If you have never played a game of Arkham Horror, it doesn't matter because everything's explained in the book, so it will make sense. So it's one of those things where there might be a few Easter eggs for people who've played the game before, but equally, if this is your first experience of Arkham Horror, it'll be a good way of dipping into the world and see what it's like. So yeah, there's 3 different characters. We've got Agnes Becka, the waitress, but of course, this being Arkham, it's more than just that. She has dark memories of a past life as a powerful sorcerer, which she's trying to get to the bottom of. There's also Nathaniel Cho, the boxer, or rather ex-boxer, because he was asked to throw fights for the O'Banion gang, and when he resisted, he ended up becoming sort of taking revenge against the gangs, because this is set in the 1920s in Arkham, Massachusetts. So as well as the gribbly nastiness from beyond, you've also got prohibition and speakeasies and all that sort of thing, contraband, and so the illegal activities linked to that. And then there's Rex Murphy, who's a reporter, and his life seems to be cursed. And beyond just saying, "Oh, I'm unlucky," there's some dark curse behind it. But he's always chasing the next story and following up all these leads about the weird goings on and the gang racketeering in Arkham.
Right. Yeah. So that's fun. There's a good variety of characters to choose from.
Yeah. They also have their own weaknesses and strengths and special abilities. So if you've played the book through once as one character, you can play it again as a different character, and it will unlock other elements, parts of the game. But you can complete it as any of the 3. You might need to make different choices based on which character you are, but as you start to play the book, you'll start to realise where their strengths and weaknesses lie, and which path you maybe want to take if you're Agnes as opposed to if you're Nathaniel.
Fantastic, yeah. So that's going to be the first thing that people get to choose right now. So in the chat, I can see there's a few people there. I've put on screen, you can see the different characters that Jonathan just talked about. We've got Agnes, we've got Rex, we've got Nathaniel. So in the chat, let us know who you want us to play through this adventure tonight. So we're going to be starting.
They're printed in the book, but you can also download them from Aconite Books as well. So and there's editable character sheets as well.
So you can create your own character.
I think it's more a case of you can copy the details down, but
and you can
I guess in theory, I suppose in theory you could. Yes, okay. In theory you could.
Yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, so what those editable ones let you just keep track of what's happening to your character as you go through. Right.
So because each character has 3 main abilities: their willpower, their intellect, and their combat. And these will be tested at various points in the adventure. So obviously, if you're fighting some horrible creature, then you're going to use your combat.
Right.
But if you're maybe trying to cast a spell, you might need to use your willpower. Or if you're trying to uncover a clue or decode a cryptic message, you'd need your intellect. And sometimes you get more than one of these combined, and you have to test them together. And then you also have your stats, your health, and your sanity, which both are going to go down during the adventure. You just don't want to go too far, because once they reach 0, it's not necessarily game over. It can be, depending on the section, but they start to have a negative impact on those different skills tests as well.
Right. Great.
Yeah. And then you also have abilities and weaknesses, and all of these things are marked quite clearly in the text. And those, as I say, that can affect the story itself. Then you can pick up different items, which opens up new sections as well. Oh, and clues and resources, very important. So you'll be able to collect both as you go through the adventure, and they allow you to modify dice rolls to make things easier. So sometimes it might say, you can spend a clue point to roll the dice again if you didn't like the result the first time, things like that.
Right. Okay. So what would you say are the strengths and weaknesses whilst people are choosing now? We've got, I mean, Nick has chosen Agnes, Babel's chosen Rex. We could do with a couple more votes so we can make a call. So
Definitely.
what would you say are the strengths and weaknesses of each main character then?
So Agnes, her willpower of those three abilities is the highest, and then her sanity is quite high as well. But she's a sorcerer. That's not a spoiler. That's on her adventure sheet. But she also has the arcane studies ability, for example. But then her major weakness is her dark memories. So the way this works is that it doesn't explain the text, but each time she spends a clue, you have to roll one die. And on a roll of one, she loses an additional sanity point. So you need to keep track of those things on when we select which character it is, keep a track as that goes along. And she has another weakness, is haunted. Nathaniel, as you might be able to guess, if he's a boxer, his combat is high and his health is high as well. And then he has the boxer major ability. So if you roll a 6 while using combat, you can add +1 to your total score. But his major weakness is he's hunted by the mob. So each time he gains a resource, you've got to roll a die. And if the score is below your current number of resources, you don't gain one.
Right.
So, and that makes a difference in, so for example, resources might be, they can be a bit more esoteric, but they might be something like a bottle of whiskey or a pistol. So it means that if you're in a battle, you can spend a resource to help you against. So if you're fighting something horrible, obviously a pistol's going to help, but equally maybe having a quick tot might get you through the fight as well.
I think in Arkham, I think that's probably pretty useful, actually, isn't it?
Yeah. And then Rex, his intellect is his strongest ability, and his sanity's high as well. So his major ability is being a reporter, which means if you roll a 6 when you're using your intellect, you gain a clue. But his major weakness is his curse, which we mentioned previously. So if you roll a double when you're using your intellect or your willpower, you treat the score as if on each dice as if it was a 1.
Right.
And then he's got other abilities, which is Seeker, and his other weakness is Cursed, which, if we get that far, you'll see how that might impact things in the adventure.
Right.
But yes. And I should say that this is the first in a series, hopefully, of investigator game books. And it has been written, so although there's 3 characters in this one, if any future titles are published, you will be able to play this as the characters in the other books as well. So you will find there are some abilities in this book which the 3 characters in this book don't have. So it's been future-proofed. So there will be other things which will be unlocked by a character you might play from another adventure. And equally, if you played through this as Agnes and you've enjoyed that, you could then take Agnes to another adventure and see how she gets on with that one.
That's very cool. Yeah, I like that idea.
I think there's some plans as well to publish some extra characters as free downloads, or maybe sometimes at events there might be things like that. So yeah, so keep an eye on it. So lots of replay value.
Brilliant. That's great. Well, we've had a few more votes, but our character votes it's right down the middle. So I think we've got Agnes and Rex are the ones that people are vying for. So I'm going to make the call on this one, and this is how we'll do it. So we're going to be going through. Yeah. Jonathan, you're going to be reading each reference, each section of the book, and presenting us with the choice, and then we'll have a little window of time as a group. I have got a little timer. I'm not sure if we're going to use this. We'll see how we get on, but we will then as a group have the chance to decide what we do next, and that's where people can jump in the chat and say what they think we should do. If it's a tie, I will then say, okay, here's what I think we should do. So that's how we're going to progress. And it looks like Nick has changed his vote as well. So I think we're going to go Rex as the character we're going to play through for this this session. Oh no, he's changed it back, but it's too late. It's too late, Nick. We're locked in with Rex, and we're going to get started with the Darkness Over Arkham. So do you want to give us our prologue, Jonathan, and get us into it?
Well, first of all, we sort of briefly talked about the characters, but Rex is the reporter. I think you've got the numbers in front of you, haven't you?
Yes.
The different characters. So we don't need to worry too much about that just for this playthrough. Mm-hmm. But he has a starting item of a reporter's notebook. So he automatically begins with +1 clue. So you've already helped yourselves out there.
Excellent.
As we've talked about his major ability, if you roll a 6 while using your intellect, you gain a clue. But then his curse is that if you roll a double when using your intellect or your willpower, you treat the score on each dice as a 1.
Right.
And then his other ability is Seeker, and his other weakness is Cursed. So just bear all of those things in mind.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So this is Rex's story. The lead to another story lost, this time because the astrophysicist appears to have upped and gone. Certainly no one at the Warren Observatory seemed to know where Dr. War was when you questioned them earlier this afternoon. You're lucky that Doyle Jeffries, editor of the Arkham Advertiser, seems to like you. Otherwise, you're not sure how much longer you could last in this town. You stare at the swirling mud-black liquid as you stir your coffee. Then, when you're sure none of the diner's staff are looking, you take out the bottle of whiskey and quickly pour some into the cup before returning the bottle to your coat pocket. As you sip the boosted beverage, you console yourself with the fact that Velma's Diner is somewhere that even the most rookie reporter could sniff out a story. And so you wait. Now turn to 1. Before we do, I'll point out that whiskey in the book is in square brackets. So any square bracket item is something you can collect. So you can add the whiskey to Rex's character sheet as well.
Fantastic. Right, I've got my pen. I'm taking notes.
Okay. Right, I'll carry on.
Great.
Velma's Diner is a popular hangout in the town of Arkham. It provides precisely what its clientele expects of a diner: hot coffee, hearty home-cooked food, and a place to rest out of the wind and rain. But it's not the kind of place you can stay forever. Through the windows in the world beyond the diner, you can see the sun creeping toward the fir-lined hills to the west of Arkham. It's time for you to leave. You begin gathering your things when a raised voice takes hold of your attention and your eyes lock onto one of the booths where 2 older people are sitting. One is a grey-bearded man, while the other is a thin, spiky woman, her silvery hair cut into a severe bob. Their clothes are not only befitting of their advancing years, but also suggest they're of an academic persuasion. You know the type well. There are plenty to be found in Arkham. As if aware that their heated exchange has drawn your gaze, the woman gives you a caustic stare before lowering her voice and resuming her intent discussion with the man. You may not be able to hear what she is saying, but from her body language, the way she leans forward, her shoulders hunched, one index finger stabbing at the air, it is clear that she is unhappy about something. The man, on the other hand, has assumed an aloof attitude toward their exchange and seems to say barely anything in response to the woman's tirade. Between them are 2 empty mugs and a plate smeared with grease. The uncleared crockery is attracting flies that always seem to manage to sneak into the diner through the open doors and windows. However, their presence seems unusual at this time of year. One scuttles about the table, no doubt dining on the scattered sugar crystals that dust the melamine surface. As you watch, you become hypnotized by its unpredictable, jittering dance and are startled when the woman slams her hand down on top of it in a moment of impassioned rage. As the man mutters something back at her, she pulls her hand back and in the blink of an eye puts her fingers to her lips as if passing something to her mouth. The action happens so quickly, you wonder if it was all in your imagination. When you glance back at the table, the fly is gone. You feel a strange twist in your stomach. You've been exposed to unexplainable strange behavior before, and it never ends well. No matter how peculiar the town of Arkham is, it is still your home, and you feel compelled to protect it no matter what. But did you really witness the old woman eat a fly? Your ruminations on what you did or did not see are the matter of a fleeting second as the woman abruptly stands. Clearly, whatever the old man has said has drawn things to a conclusion. She storms out of the diner. Mere moments later, having deposited a crumpled dollar bill on the table, the man follows. But you do not get the impression that the woman will have waited for him. It is only after the couple has left and the diner door has swung shut behind the man that you notice a notebook lying on the floor next to the booth where the pair were sitting. It is nothing like the notepads used by those who wait tables at the diner to take customers' orders, so you can only assume one of the academics must have dropped it. Without drawing attention to yourself, you approach the table and, crouching down, pick up Dr. Blaine's notebook. So that's another item you can collect.
Okay.
Flicking through it, you see the pages are filled with handwritten notes in a language you don't understand. So, do you want to take a moment to study the jotter more carefully, or do you want to leave the diner in pursuit of the academics and return the notebook to its rightful owner?
Okay, so we can either take a look at this book of unusual text, or we can chase after the perhaps even more unusual academics who just walked out. I mean, what do people think? Do we want to find out what they were talking about and go and follow them and see if we can catch up, or do we want to take a look at this book, use our reporter's instincts to maybe have a little look inside this unusual collection of notes? I know I'm interested. My curiosity is piqued by this book, and I know that in the world of Arkham Horror, it's always worth reading a book that you don't understand. Just as long as you don't read it out loud, I think. Well, we've got Nick. You think we should study the Notebook? I'm inclined to agree. I think we should give the Notebook a look. So let's. Neville, look in the book. Even if you can't read it, there might be some doodles. I think that's a fair shout. Yeah, we might find out something interesting.
That's a fair shout. Yeah.
So I think the general consensus on this one is to take a look at the book and then let's see what we can see.
Okay. The jotter is filled with esoteric scribblings executed in a careful hand, but all as unintelligible as they are beautifully written. Some pages are covered in picture script, but like nothing you've seen before, while others bear line after line of what looks like mirror writing, but which, when reversed, still makes no sense. And then there are the drawings. One appears to be that of a curious vessel, shaped like a giant cicada and covered in more of the curious pictograms. Others appear to be anatomical illustrations, but of things composed of malformed claws, distended jaws, and too many eyes. Just looking at the crude images makes you feel uneasy, as if one of those hideous things is reaching out to lay a claw on you even now. You tell yourself you're being silly, but glance over your shoulder anyway, just in case. Take -1 sanity and +1 clue.
Immediate. The first possible choice, and we lose some sanity. I think this is not going to. This is not boding well.
You dread to think what secrets the Notebook contains, but you still feel an overwhelming urge to find out more, if only because of the strange behaviour exhibited by the arguing academics. And you will remain ignorant of the truth unless you can find someone to help you decode the symbols within. When you think of arcane symbols, there is one place that springs to mind immediately. So, do you want to take Dr. Blaine's Notebook to the old magic shop in Uptown, or do you want to chase after the academics to return the Notebook to its rightful owner?
So we just step back, as Steve says, we can run away and forget we ever saw anything, and just take the sanity hit on the first round, or we can still try and investigate even further and maybe to get the book decoded at the old magic shop.
Yeah.
What do people think on this one? What do we want to do at this stage? We might still be able to catch up with the academics. They can't be walking that fast, and they seem like an interesting couple. I'm sure they've got some fun stuff to say. It looks like Anvil was running behind, so wasn't actually live. So if anybody is running behind, I apologize if it seems like I'm ignoring your messages. We might just be on a Arkham time disparity. Something may have occurred, but no, we've got a couple more suggestions that we should investigate. Babel, Tommy, Steve all think we should investigate further. No fear, says Tommy. So we should go with the old magic shop and see if they can tell us what this book means.
Okay, I warn you now, I will not attempt to do any American accents, because I think that would only offend. For all its decaying old world charm and quaint window displays of horoscopes and tarot cards, the old magic shop of Arkham hides its true nature in plain sight. Most who find themselves walking past the store have no idea that it is a haven for those practitioners of the esoteric arts, for want of a better phrase. Despite the late hour, the old magic shop is still open. As you enter the establishment, a bell rings somewhere nearby, and hearing clicking footsteps, your attention is drawn to the grey-haired woman who is now standing behind the counter. Your gaze briefly flickers below to the counter's glass cabinets, which are full of esoteric curiosities. She wears a fashionable blouse and slacks, and a startling amount of antique jewellery. Her reputation precedes her. This is Miriam Beecher, the proprietor of the magic shop. "Can I help you?" she asked pleasantly, whilst fixing you with the most piercing eyes. In spite of any fears you might have about letting others know you're in possession of Dr. Blaine's notebook, you came here specifically to have someone help you decode its contents. Offering Miriam the notebook, you ask if she can help you translate what's written within. She pauses before taking it from you and then gives a few of the pages a cursory glance. As a rule of thumb, you should not meddle in things you do not understand, she says coldly, that piercing stare of hers unrelenting, especially here in Arkham. You explain that it's too late for that, to which she replies, then there will be a price to pay. I have money, you tell her. I do not mean money, she says, and you feel a chill creep into your limbs as goose flesh rises on your skin. Do you still desire to discover the truth, no matter what it may cost you? Well, do you? So you can either decide it's time to leave the magic shop before you find yourself writing a check your body can't cash, or if you're prepared to pay to gain insight into the contents of the notebook.
Right. I am very worried that it's not so much the body that's not going to be able to cash the check, it's the mind. I think we're probably in danger of losing a little bit more sanity on this one before it's over. But we can either do that, we can sign up for whatever this cost is going to be. Maybe it is just, maybe it's not money, but it's material goods. We could look out and it's nothing too scary. Or do we take this opportunity to just walk away once and for all and just call it a day? My suspicion is people are not going to go for that one, but I think we'll give people the chance. Do we want to continue investigating this potentially cursed tome, or do we walk away? Neville, absolutely. Rex Murphy has plenty of sanity left, so I think that's a fair shout.
He did start off with 9. You've only lost 1 so
exactly. But I imagine there's moments where you can lose quite a bit. Is my guess. But you
might think that. I couldn't possibly comment.
We've got Anvil, who says risk it as well. Yeah, I think that's right. As Babel says, no pain, no gain. And Tommy, we pay the cost, no walking away. I like this attitude. We want to get to the truth.
So you're going down the rabbit hole.
Let's do it.
Okay. No matter what it costs you, you must know what secret information is hidden within Dr. Blaine's jotter. Very well, follow me, says the venerable Miriam Beecher. And she leads you to a back room draped with mouldering curtains and threadbare gauzy drapes that make you feel like you've been transported into a down-at-heel fortune teller's tent. She sits down on one side of a small table and invites you to take a seat opposite her. Take the secret, the fortune teller. So the secrets are, if any of you played any of the Marvel multiverse missions, you'll know that there's achievements to unlock. So this is kind of an extra layer to the gameplay. So in the investigator game books, they're called secrets.
Okay.
So it's more a way of showing what a rigorous player you are of the game book. So there's different ones to collect, and they're all listed in the back. You can tick them off, and then you get super secrets depending on how many of the other ones you find, or other situations that you might end the game with. That's
great, like an achievement. Yeah. So yeah, you're almost collecting.
So it's a bit like anybody obviously used to gaming online these days. You get all sorts of achievements. It's a similar thing.
Okay, so that's great.
Interactive game books influence interactive video games, which have now influenced interactive game books.
That's fun, and some more replayability from that as well. Yeah. Right? What was the secret there? What was it called that we?
So the secret is the fortune teller.
The fortune teller. Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay.
What I'm about to share with you will change you forever, she says, placing Dr. Blaine's notebook between you. Once the door to knowledge has been opened, you will not be able to forget what you discover lies beyond, ever. Are you ready? You nod to confirm that you are, even as you feel the shadows at the corner of the room thicken and swell. Do these symbols appear at all familiar to you, she asks, opening the notebook, seemingly at random. So this is a point where it says, if you have the ancient languages ability, you can turn to a different section. But none of the characters in the book have that. But as I say, there may be the opportunity later to play this as a different character who would have the ancient languages.
Okay.
But it doesn't stop you from continuing as you are.
Right.
So I will turn to the appropriate section for if you don't have that ability. I've never seen anything like them before, you tell Miriam. I was hoping you might be able to tell me what they are. Take a look at them again, says the owner of the magic shop. Do you see anything now? You stare at the curious sigils until they start to swirl on the page before you. So now you have to make a pattern recognition test. So roll one die and add your intellect.
Okay.
You can spend one clue to roll 2 dice and pick the highest.
Feels too early to me to spend any clues. I don't.
And he does have the highest intellect of any character in the book. So
okay, so we're probably worth just risking it. So I think I'm going to make the executive decision just to go without spending any clues. Only rolled a 2 though, so that's 6 in total.
Okay. It wouldn't make any difference if you spent a clue,
okay,
because you have to roll 8 or higher. So you rolled 7 or less. So,
I'm sorry, everyone.
And he doesn't have the arcane study skill, because that would have also given you an extra point. That's
oh dear.
That's Agnes. Anyway, so let me. Okay. I have an idea. The proprietor of the magic shop says, a guileless expression on her face. Leave the notebook with me, and I'll see if I can decode it for you. What do you say? How do you feel about handing Dr. Blaine's notebook over to Miriam Beecher? If you want to go along with the suggestion, that's one option. Or if you don't want to give her the notebook, that's the other.
Right. So we either leave the notebook, our only clue, our only sort of the thing that has got us into whatever this sort of case has become. We leave it with Miriam, or we take it and just sort of wander the streets, I guess. As I apologise, Steve, I did not roll high, and Babel's quite right. That dice is going into dice jail, so I won't be rolling this one again immediately. But the question is, do we want to actually keep hold of the book and carry on, or do we want to leave the book with Miriam? I've got yeses and nos. I fear I didn't phrase it as a yes/no question, so I don't know what you mean, Steve and Tommy. Do we leave the book?
I'm guessing Steve's saying no, don't leave the notebook behind.
Okay. Is that... So either leave... No, because that could mean either as well.
So I think... So no is to keep the notebook, yes is to give it to her.
Perfect.
That's what I would read that as.
So... Steve doesn't trust. No trust from Steve. And Tommy then is saying we should leave the notebook, I believe. Let's get some more. Yeah, Tommy wants us to leave the notebook. Let's get some more guesses in here or suggestions.
Oh, keep the book.
Babel's saying we should keep the book. We should keep hold of it. I'm in two minds on this one. I've got no reason not to trust Miriam, but then it's also, there's something odd about this book. Do we really want to be just handing it off willy-nilly? Anybody else got any suggestions on this one? Any other choices? Anyone want to weigh in and help us decide? I think at the moment, people are going for keeping hold of the book. Neville keeping the book as well.
There you go.
Okay. So, yeah, I think then we'll keep it.
Okay. So if you don't want to give give Miriam the notebook, right? Mm-hmm. You leave the old magic shop, the bell jangling cheerily as you step over the threshold and back into the chilly night. However, you cannot shake the chill that has already permeated your bones since entering the shop. Spend one resource or lose -1 willpower.
Okay.
What do you want to do?
So, what's our resource at the moment? As in, would that be my item? Is that what it would be?
So, I don't think you have any resources, do you?
No, I don't think we do. No, I'm just looking now. We don't. So, we'll have to lose the willpower then.
Lose 1 willpower, yeah. So, lose 1 willpower.
Okay.
You consider the words written on the flyleaf of the jotter. Perhaps it would make more sense to head for Miskatonic University instead. So,
okay.
By the time you arrive at Miskatonic University, night has spread its purple mantle over Arkham. The collegiate buildings are visible only as blocks of shadow, but with certain elements, such as entrances and windows, picked out by spots of artificial light, and even the occasional flickering oil lamp. But one building is more brightly lit than any other, due to the presence of several police cars and other vehicles, their headlight beams on full. And that is the Science Building. Not only that, but a cordon has been erected around the entrance to the building, manned by a single police officer. Nearby, a huddle of people in deep discussion. 3 of the men are wearing the peaked caps and uniforms of the Arkham Police Department, while the last is a tall man wearing a long trench coat. So, you don't have the police or detective ability.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to do? Do you want to attempt to sneak past the police cordon and enter the building, or talk to the policeman?
Talk to the policeman or sneak past them or attempt to sneak past them. So this is definitely a tough decision, this one, because I don't know. I'm intrigued to find out what's going on. As a reporter, it feels kind of like the right call would be to just speak to the policeman. I don't know that we've got any skills here, but what do people think? Should we risk some sort of stealth mission, or should we just talk to the police and see if they can tell us what's going on? I did note that Richard had suggested we should have a whiskey, just to replenish our courage and our reserves. But again, it feels too soon, even though I've already rolled poorly and caused us a few problems. But we've got Babel thinks we should talk. Anybody else think we should speak with the police, or does anybody suggest that we sneak around? Babel suggesting yes. Reporters look for clues from the police all the time. Tommy, speak to them, seems less suspicious and can give info. Neville, talk to them. Probably goat summoning weirdos. Knowing Miskatonic University, entirely possible. Anvil, I agree.
The fact that Babel wants to talk.
Yes, indeed, yeah. Anvil, I agree. Speak with them. So I think it's pretty overwhelming vote for talk to the police.
Okay. You tell the policeman that you're here to see Dr. Blaine, but the mere mention of his name has them regarding you with suspicion. Feeling your face redden in embarrassment, you try to bluster your way out of your tricky situation, but become tongue-tied as the cops interrogate you on the details of your less than convincing story. The more you talk, the more you can see the suspicion deepen on the policemen's faces. Before you know it, you're being handcuffed as you suddenly find yourself at the top of the list of suspects in the murder of Dr. Devlin Blaine. There is little point trying to escape when the university campus is already swarming with police, so you allow yourself to be led away and bundled into one of the cars, hoping that you'll be able to sort this mess out down at the police station. Take the weakness, criminal.
Oh, no.
So it's going well.
Yeah, this is not a strong start for Rex.
Right. Okay. On reaching a police station, you are rough-handed until you're standing in front of the custody sergeant, ready to be processed and charged before finally being locked up. Unfortunately, no one seems interested in hearing your side of the story, and your claims of innocence as simply being in the wrong place at the wrong time go unheeded. Do you have a pistol? I know the answer to that.
We do not have a pistol.
You don't have a pistol. Okay. So, your fingerprints are taken. Record your inky fingers on your character sheet. So they're an item, inky fingers.
Okay.
And you soon find yourself locked in a holding cell in the depths of the East Town police station with all the other ne'er-do-wells who've been arrested this evening. A man with a ragged beard buried in a heavy overcoat snores in one corner, while an elderly woman dressed in a long patched dress and shawl sits on the bench, staring vacantly into the middle distance. From one comes an aroma of alcohol and worse, while the other projects an aura of faded splendor. Her shawl, clothes, jewelry, and even her face giving an impression that they were all gorgeous before impecunity and a life of hardship ravaged their beauty. You resign yourself to a long wait before being able to speak with anyone who might be able to help you with your current predicament, and take a seat on the bench beside the woman. Rather unsettlingly, she's muttering to herself. He doesn't trust that Professor Nidus, you know. She looks at you then. Her of the Life Sciences Department doesn't trust her one bit, and he's not too keen on that Dr. Orr either. He's an astrophysicist, she says, breaking the word down into its component parts. He works at the Warren Observatory, but hardly ever leaves his office. Who doesn't, you ask, unable to help yourself? Trust them, I mean. Dr. Blaine, of course, the old woman says with a chuckle, giving her a nudge with her elbow. How does she know so much about Dr. Blaine and his associates? She suddenly grabs your hands in hers, and her demeanour changes. She fixes you with a penetrating stare. I see darkness in your future. You gasp at this rather unexpected turn of events. Her behaviour both perturbs and intrigues you. Do you want to pull your hands away or leave them where they are and see what happens next?
Ooh, okay. This is a creepy one then. So we can either sort of lean into what might be a potential sort of portent of the future. We might get our fortune told by a stranger in the prison cell, or we pull our hands away and sort of keep ourselves to ourselves. I'm gonna flip this time because I'm gonna use this because I think this is an important one, and we've got that long. People have got that long to tell us whether or not they think we should keep our hands in place and risk finding out what the future may hold from someone who seems a bit strange and seems to know what's going on, and maybe the real person who was responsible for Dr. Blaine's fate. Intriguing though that we've ended up in prison very, very quickly.
Yeah.
I'm pleased we didn't have a gun because I feel like it would have gotten a lot worse for us. But yeah, I mean, people suggesting. Steve was right, actually. Steve suggested we run away from the cops because he didn't trust them. So that, probably a fair shout. I apologise, Steve. But we've got some people think we should see what happens. So Anvil thinks that we should see what happens. Minimum 2000 says get involved. John says keep holding her hand. She might buy us dinner. Barnaby says we should lean in. Tommy thinks we should get a reading of the future because we need one. I mean, definitely we need to know what bad dice rolls I'm going to put us through. Babel says she's from old money, so we should stick in there. And Steve says we should get her help. So he's turned around on trusting people all of a sudden, has Steve. But yeah, I think we are out of time, and I think everybody has said let's keep our hands held in place and see what she can tell us.
You find yourself transfixed by the woman's gaze. There is something there, moving in the pinpricks of darkness that are her pupils. And then she speaks. When the moon in darkness dies, then a new god shall arise. One from three shall claim the prize. One called from the burning pit, one that seeks the veil to split, the last the child, its egg forfeit. The lilting chant sounds like a prophecy more than anything else. Take +1 clue, and the secret cracked.
Ooh.
But the look in her eyes and the subtle power behind her words unnerves you. So you now need to make a fear test. Okay. So roll 1 die and add your willpower. Again, you could spend 1 resource if you had any.
Yeah, so we've still not got any resource. I'm gonna do a roll. It's a new dice, so hopefully it's more friendly to us because our willpower is only 2 now because we already lost 1. And I have rolled a 2 again.
Okay.
So we got 4 in total.
Let me find the right page. It is no good. The old woman's stare is too intense, and what she's sharing with you is too terrifying to bear. You pull your hands free of her grip at last. As you do so, her shoulders sag and her hands drop into her lap. She looks utterly exhausted. She does not utter another word, but she does not need to. The truths she has revealed to you, and you know that they are truths, are enough to shake you to your core. Lose 1 sanity point.
Okay.
Right. You've been in the holding cell for an hour when the police officer appears before the bars and calls your name. Looks like you have a guardian angel, he says, unlocking the cell door. Seeing the quizzical look on your face, he adds, someone has bailed you out. Who? You ask. I'm not at liberty to say, but if I were you, I wouldn't waste time worrying about who got me out of jail. I'd skedaddle as fast as I could. That sounds like good advice. And before you know it, you're wandering the streets of East Town as the street lamps come on, wondering what to do now. It feels like there are powers at work behind the scenes, moving their pawns into position, as if they're preparing for war, or the fulfillment of some prophecy. And Dr. Blaine's notebook is what got you caught up in this mystery in the first place. Perhaps there is something in there that could help you now. Or perhaps there's some message you have received that could grant you much needed insight. If there is, you'll have 4 numbers associated with this piece of information. Add them together and turn to the section that has the same number as the total. So obviously you didn't write it down, but the prophecy that the old woman gave you, it was 1 from 3 shall claim the prize, 1 called from the burning pit, 1 that seeks the veil to split.
Right. So I think then it's 1311,
which is a grand total of.
Oh, so we're adding it up. So we're gonna go for 6.
Okay. You consider the words of the prophecy once more. You're not certain what "when the moon in darkness dies" means, but it sounds ominous. And "then a new god shall arise" sounds even worse. Combined with 1 from 3 shall claim the prize makes you wonder if there are 3 factions working to bring the prophecy about, and what that could mean for Arkham. Take the secret, hidden 4.
Ooh, okay. So
there's a number of secrets which are linked to if you've worked out section numbers. So without knowing where to turn, you've had to calculate something or decode something. So they're a kind of special level of secrets. So that's good.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah. Just to add to the rising tension and terror, I should say that Martha has decided to lie down on my notepad. So I'm having to negotiate with her. Oh, she's stood up now. She's moved out of the way. She was making it very difficult to take notes, and that's the reason I didn't write down the prophecy.
Okay. She thinks notebooks are dangerous.
Yeah. Now she gives us that advice. Yeah.
Yeah. Could Dr. Blaine have been involved with one of those factions? And if he was, does that mean this Professor Nidus is as well? Perhaps that was what they were arguing about. But he also had his doubts about Dr. War, the astrophysicist. What part does he have to play in all this? Considering Dr. Blaine is out of the picture, if you're going to get to the bottom of what actually happened to him, you're going to need to investigate his rivals, Professor Nidus and Dr. War. But which of them do you want to look into first?
Okay.
So Nidus or War?
So Nidus or Dr. War. Was Dr. War the astrophysicist?
Yeah.
Okay. What do we think, folks? I'm going to give us the timer again, just because I'm conscious. I think there may be a slight delay on the chat as well. So I'll give people enough time.
Professor Nidus, the policeman told you it was in the, or I think she meant in the prophecy as well, but in the life sciences department.
Right, of course, yes. So life sciences or astrophysics.
Yeah.
Right. And we need to choose, who do we want to go and speak to? Do we want to go and speak to Nidus? Do we want to go and speak to War? I mean, I guess it's in a way 50-50. We don't really know an awful lot about either. But War doesn't sound very pleasant. Nidus, I'm sure it means something, but it's less obvious to me at least. What do we think, folks? We've got Babel suggesting...
I was going to say, I'll mention one thing, but this is honestly not to influence you.
Okay.
But Rex's story started off by saying that he'd lost the lead to a story because the astrophysicist appeared to have upped and gone. Certainly knowing that the Warren Observatory seemed to know where Dr. War was when you questioned about his...
Of course, yes.
But that's not to influence things one way or the other.
Sure, no, that's a very good point, actually. Yeah, looping us back around to where we began. It does seem like folks think that Nidus is probably the person to go and speak to anyway. So if War is already to the wind somewhere, we don't necessarily know where they are. But...
What's it good for? Absolutely nothing.
I think Nidus. We're out of time, and we've got a couple of Nidus votes. So let's go with Dr. Nidus.
Professor Nidus, right. The mystery appears to be focused around goings on at Miskatonic University, particularly the enmity between Dr. Blaine and Professor Nidus that you witnessed boil over at the diner. Therefore, it makes sense to you to find out what you can about Professor Nidus to get a better idea of what was the source of their conflict, and therefore, by extension, what actually happened to Dr. Blaine. At this late hour, this corner of the campus is quiet, and you do not see anyone about as you make your way to the science building. Inside, dull yellow bulbs give the corridor walls a nicotine stain. Using the information painted on polished walnut signboards, you find yourself entering the entomology department, where Professor Nidus teaches. Behind the empty receptionist desk, A board displaying the names of the academics who work in the department states whether they are in or out. According to the name board, Professor Nidus, like the rest of her colleagues, is out. In fact, there is only one faculty member whose status is currently in, and that is one Dr. Milan Christopher. So do you want to make your way to Professor Nidus's office, or do you want to look in on Dr. Milan Christopher?
Okay. So the assumption being if we go to Professor Nidus's office, she won't be there, but maybe we can find
it says on the board.
Clues, right? I mean, she might still be there even though the board says she's not. We might find some clues there if she's not, and we can investigate her office. Or we can go and check out with Dr. Christopher, who does seem to be in. Does it say what they were? What Dr. Christopher does?
No.
No? Okay. So what do we think?
It's just that you're in the entomology department.
Okay.
So Dr. Christopher is a character who, if you've played the Arkham Horror game before, you may have come across him.
Ah, okay.
So if you have, then you'll know what his expertise is in.
Right. That's fun though. So there's like more.
So there's lots of. Yeah, there's other characters who appear in the game as allies rather than necessarily as playable characters or on cards in the game.
Right.
So some of those appear in this book as well.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So more familiarity with the wider world could help you in the investigation. Okay, that's great. Babel suggests that we probably should chat to Milan. Steve thinks clues are good, and I agree, but we could find clues in either direction. We could get clues from Dr. Milan. So Tommy suggested that we go to Nidus's office. So at the moment, I think we're split roughly down the middle. Still a little bit of time, folks, if anybody wants to give us a suggestion on whether we should go to the professor's office, which might be empty, or we should go and talk to the doctor who we think might be in. And they might be able to give us some other unexpected clues, potentially. Yeah. Bit of a toss-up for me. I mean, if Okay. Barnaby thinks we should go and chat to Milan as well. Seems like that's just Steve suggesting we roll the D6, but I do not trust D6 anymore so far. It'll just be a 2. We can guarantee that. So I think we'll go and speak to Milan.
Okay. It does not take you long to find Dr. Christopher's rooms. According to the letters painted on his door, he is a professor of entomology. You are about to knock on the door when you hear a voice from the other side say, "It beggars belief." You assume the voice you can hear is that of Dr. Christopher, but who is he speaking to? Is there someone else with him, or is he talking to himself? What do you want to do? Knock on the door, open the door and enter without knocking, or forget about Dr. Christopher and go in search of Professor Nidus?
Ooh,
so you've got 3 choices now.
Yeah, that's our first 3-way choice. So we can either go in,
knock, open,
okay,
or leave.
Knock, open, or leave. What do we think? People? Knock, open, or leave. That's exciting. Yeah. Well, I mean, even when you think it's going to be a simple choice and you're just gonna turn up and chat to someone, there's always something else. There's always another choice that must be made. We've got Babel suggesting that we knock and seemingly pretend to be Avon, and that we're going to try and sell some stuff. Anyone else? We've got Steve suggesting that we knock. Tommy, knock because we're polite. Minimum, open and catch them with their pants down. I suppose, like metaphorically speaking. Neville, open the door. Okay, so there's a few folks coming in on opening up and just sort of barging in. Still think that knocking has the edge. Although no, Barnaby's
3 to 2.
Yeah, Barnaby's just come in though and thinks we should burst in as well, and we can always apologise.
Okay.
Ooh, we're even.
50-50.
Yeah, we're still even. There's still just a couple of seconds for someone else to swing it one way or the other. We're definitely not leaving. I think we know that for sure. Okay. I think then I'll have to take the call on this one and break the tie. Steve, yeah, we ain't leaving. I agree. I think I think let's barge in. Let's do it.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm gonna
well, that's not like
surprise
you.
myself and just go for it. Rex, he's a journalist, so he wants to get the scoop. He's gonna risk it.
Okay. You find yourself in a study that is filled with bookcases and freestanding shelves. Many of those shelves are packed with large glass jars, as well as books and bundles of paper. These clear containers are filled with a yellowy-green liquid, within which float all manner of curious specimens. The one thing they have in common is that they are all invertebrates, specifically of the taxonomic classification Insecta, predominantly large beetles and spine-encrusted stick insects. A large man stands in front of a workbench. He turns in surprise at your unexpected invasion of his privacy, and for a moment, you catch a glimpse of what he was examining. It looks like some sort of gigantic hornet with an oily black chitinous carapace. Sorry, chitinous, I should say, carapace. It is secured to dissecting board by several large pins, and its stained glass wings are fully extended to a span of 2 feet. A sting like a steel needle projects from its bulbous abdomen. Take +1 clue.
Ooh. Okay.
What is the meaning of this? Blusters the man, hastily dropping a muslin cloth over the specimen of the work on the workbench. May I help you? He asked pointedly. I'm sorry, you apologize. I was looking for Professor Nidus. Then you have come to the wrong place, he snaps, peering at you through a pair of half-moon spectacles. As the sign on the door says, I am Dr. Milan Christopher. Dr. Christopher is portly and sports a thick head of hair as well as a bushy beard. He's wearing blue overalls over his everyday clothes, and a red bow tie can be seen protruding from beneath his chin. How will you respond? Apologize and leave, or ask Dr. Christopher about Professor Nidus?
Okay. So either we apologize and just walk away, so it's all for nothing, or we ask him some questions about Nidus. What do we think, folks? I know what I think we should do on this one. This one feels like a clear one to me, but I'll give people a chance to make their votes known, and then we'll see where we get to. Steve has moved on from suggesting we roll a d6 to we roll a d20 for some of these choices, and has also predicted that we're gonna get a sanity loss soon from whatever that creature on the table is, I assume. Steve and Babel both think that we should question Milan, and that we should ask about Nidus. Tommy, we are in now like brutes, so we can at least ask the professor. It's true there was no polite introduction on this one. Barnaby, get the dirt on Nidus. I'm inclined to agree. So I think we go with this one. I think we ask that question and find out what we can find out.
Okay. Professor Nidus's office is on the 2nd floor beyond the Kafka collection, Dr. Christopher tells you. Now, if you will excuse me, I have work to do. Please close the door on your way out. Your audience of the entomologist is clearly at an end. Leaving his office and pulling the door to as requested, you decide what to do next. So do you want to make your way to Professor Nidus's office or leave the science building and pursue your investigations elsewhere?
Okay. I think I'm going to make an exact call on this one, conscious of time as well. I think we should just make our way to Nidus's office and see if we can find anything there that might give us a clue in a bit of a rush.
Making your way through the science building, up the stairs and along corridors, you finally find what you're looking for and stop in front of a dark walnut door next to which is a brass plaque bearing the professor's name. You're about to tap on the door when you decide to try the handle instead. It turns and the door opens a crack. Professor Nidus, you call softly, but no reply comes from the darkened room beyond. Do you want to enter the office uninvited? Or, if you haven't already, would you like to look for Dr. Christopher? Well, you've already met him, so... You let the doors swing open wide and search for a light switch, not entering the room until it is bathed in bright white light. Befitting of a professor of entomology, as well as the expected desk and bookshelves, the room is full of vivaria, containing slices of various global habitats, from sandy deserts to misty rainforests. Under the glow of the electric lights, the room's occupants have come to skittering, scurrying life. Behind the glass of the captured ecosystems are thousands upon thousands of insects. Hissing cockroaches, mantises, soldier ants, butterflies, moths, locusts, and killer wasps. Professor Nidus clearly isn't here, and you don't have any strong desire to linger here any longer than is necessary. The presence of the myriad insects is making your skin crawl. But you do notice two things that you decide deserve closer scrutiny before you leave. One is a photograph of a grand colonial-style mansion set within its own wooded estate. Standing in front of the house is a man dressed in tweed and his wife. And between them is a serious-looking girl of no more than 7 years, sporting a severe bob. Etched into the negative, so that it appears in white letters on the developed photograph, is the name of the place, Abdon House. Take the secret family photo.
Ooh. Okay.
The other is a curious and rather morbid mask made from a human skull. If you want to take the skull mask with you, record it on your character sheet and take +1 resource.
Oh, okay. I think that's got to be. We're gonna have to give people a chance to take a vote on that one. Should we take the skull mask with us? It gives us a resource which we've not had up until this point, but it's also, a skull mask, so it's a little bit creepy. I definitely don't want to. I'm glad we're not going to linger in this room because it's a bit. Yeah, I don't know. Something is a bit. It is making my flesh crawl a little bit to think of all these creepy crawlies all around us. What do we think, folks? Are we going to take? Are we taking it? Are we taking the skull mask? I'm excited that we've discovered. I mean, that feels like, if this is a family photo, that feels like maybe the person we saw, the lady who was eating flies, may actually have been Nidus. It's entirely possible, right? It sounds like a similar description. Babel says we should take the mask, and so does Tommy. I think you always take the skull mask, as the old saying goes. And Babel's also made a very good point. Abaddon, hope all ye who enter here. So yeah, that definitely there's definitely a bit of creepiness going on. I think let's take the mask. We'll add that resource, and then we can use that at some future point. Okay.
Okay. There is clearly more to this mystery than just the strange fate met by Dr. Blaine. But where do you want to go next in search of answers? So this is where you have to turn a name into numbers. So it says, if you know of any suitable location, ignoring the definite article, the place name will be made up of 2 words. So for example, if you wanted to visit the City Hall, you would just use the words city and hall and turn the letters of locations into numbers using the code A = 1, B = 2, and so on.
Ooh.
Add the numbers together and turn to the same section. Now, I'm aware that it's almost 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
But in theory, you have the location, or have a location.
So I think
you could use at this point.
The only place that we know would be Abdon House, right? I think that's which sounds like a dangerous location to go, but given that we are almost out of time, maybe we should just race over to Abdon House and see what we find.
That means you've got to turn it into numbers.
Oh no!
And I can't remember what the answer is, so I can't even speed things along for you. Well, hang on. It's Abadon. It's spelled Abaddan House.
Okay, folks, is everyone working this one out for us? What letter of the alphabet is N?
So N is 14.
Okay.
Yeah, A is 1, B is 2, D is 4, N is 14, H is 8, O is 15, U is 21, S is 19, and E is 5. See,
now here's someone who is used to doing little codes and ciphers, I suspect. So I'm gonna add that all up. I'm gonna do it on my calculator to avoid embarrassment. So, okay, here we go. 15 plus 21 Plus 19. Plus 5. So I've got 95 by my count.
Right. Let's see if we both got it right. Okay. As you set off for the affluent and ancient neighborhood of French Hill, you begin to feel uneasy. More uneasy than you have felt so far this evening, as if something watches you from the darkness. If you have the weakness cursed, which you do,
oh no,
add 1 to your total doom score. So that's another one.
Okay. I don't like the sound of that.
So what is your total doom? 3 or more or 2 or less?
2 or less, I think.
Yeah. So, yeah. Shows you how badly things could have gone. The flickering street lamps guide you to a large house on the scale of a colonial mansion, but one that is a vision of crumbling grandeur. Abdon House, as the plaque reads at the entrance, must have been glorious once, but now it is quite apparent that it is falling into disrepair. It is a curious mix of the palatial and the Gothic, with a pillared colonnade at the front, but the pointed mullioned windows of a German castle. Take the secret, location 9.
Ooh. Okay.
It stands apart from the other properties in this neighbourhood on a large plot of land and is screened from the road by a thick yew hedge. A light in the porch shines above the front door, and you approach the house along a wide gravel drive. There is no one about, and the grounds are eerily quiet, but you can't shake the feeling that there are eyes on you as you make your way toward the mansion. Dun, dun, dun.
Okay. I mean, yeah. What a place to wrap it up. Woo! Yeah, I don't feel good. I do not feel good about going into Abdon House, I'll be honest. And I don't feel good about my dice rolls. But that was cool. I enjoyed that.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, a fun... I mean, it's quite an intriguing mystery. So now, yeah, we still don't know the sort of roots of what's happened, but we've definitely been caught in this web of various a lot of curious, like, personal politics, it sounds like, and there's a lot of different things going on here. So I'm definitely very eager to find out more about what's actually happening. And if we had time...
So far, you know that Dr. Blaine's dead,
Yep.
Suspected that he's been murdered. You've found Professor Nidus's house, but you haven't seen her yet. Dr. War's gone AWOL. I mean, there's always... Dr. Christopher's looking at some horrific insect. Nothing, there's just always random clues. But that's the nice thing about the investigator game books is that it is an investigation. So many classic adventure game books back in the day would say, here's your quest, there's the evil wizard in his castle, go kill him. In this one, it literally starts off with you not knowing what's going on, and you gradually unpick the clues and explore and talk to people, find out information until you find out actually what's going on and what you have to do one way or the other.
Which is quite Lovecraftian in a way as well, because nobody really knows what's happening until that horror of realization later on, when it's too late, because you've got yourself so involved in something that you definitely shouldn't have. So it really did. It's
true to the nature of the Arkham Horror game as well. And one of the things which is quite nice about it is if, as a player, when you read the book, we didn't meet any particularly gribbly monsters, but if you do, you may well know what they are. But that doesn't mean that the character you're playing knows what they are. So they're described in much more esoteric terms. So it's never stated, rather than in a classic fantasy adventure, you might, now you're fighting an orc, or now you're fighting a dragon, it'll just describe this horrific thing, and then you just have to roll the dice and hopefully survive the encounter somehow.
I mean, it feels right that we played as the investigator, the journalist, I think, because, it does feel like we've got a load of clues and we've started putting together some kind of story. So we know there's lots of different moving parts, and I think we've actually done pretty well in terms of clues as well. And we've been to a load of secret locations, got quite a few secrets, it feels like. But how do they all...
You've actually made some good progress through the adventure as well.
Yeah, good. That's great. Well, I really enjoyed it, Jonathan. And you... The book is available now, as you say. People can literally go and buy the ebook version right now if they want to carry on the adventure from where we are, right?
Yeah. And as I say, it's available in paperback in the States at the moment and will be out in the UK in July. I think, not apps, can't guarantee it, but I think they're hoping to have some copies at the UK Games Expo at the end of this month.
Fantastic.
So if you're going there, you may be able to pick up a copy, and I will be signing books at the stand as well on the Friday.
Amazing. Yeah, that's fantastic. I will also be at UK Games Expo, so you never know. We may be able to find 5 minutes for you to tell me the secrets of Abdon House, and yeah, if anybody else is there and wants to come over and join us for a little, maybe we might roll a dice or two and see if we can find out some more clues. But Jonathan, thank you so much for joining me for this. I think this has been really, really good fun, and thank you everybody.
Well, thank you very much for hosting.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's been great. But people actually jumping in and getting involved. That's been really fantastic and helping us work out what we should do next. I can only apologise for those dice rolls.
Hopefully we can do it again sometime.
I would love to. Yeah, I absolutely would love to. And I should also mention as well that I'm giving away a copy of the book over on Twitter. So if you want to go and follow me at Jordan Sorcery, you can find my recent tweet about it. So there's a chance to get hold of a physical copy of the book early as well. So yeah, go check out Aconite. The website, it's down in the description, or if it's not, I'll add it. And you can order the book both as an ebook or as a pre-order for the physical book, and get adventuring, get into the rest of the Investigator game book and see what happens.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Definitely. Okay. Right, well, thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We'll call it there. Yes. And thank you again, Jonathan.
No problem. Thank you. I hope you sleep well.
Definitely no guarantees of that. Not after that.
It's got very dark in your room.
It has, yeah, that's Arkham. It's coming for me now. Yeah, that's the Arkham Horror right here.